Hello, everyone. This is Devin Thorpe, your host today for the CrowdFundBeat, and I'm excited to have with us David Lilenfeld of Sterling Funder from Georgia. How are you doing, David?
Doing great, Devin. Thank you for
Thank,
having me.
thank you for being here with us today. I'm excited to talk to you because you are in the epicenter of one of America's great experiments in crowdfunding. You are participating in crowdfunding under the Georgia plan, sometimes called the Georgia exemption. Tell me a little bit about. Let's start with talking about the law. What does the Georgia law say about crowdfunding in Georgia?
Well, it's called the Invest Georgia Exemption, and it's actually a rule, not a law. So it did not go through the legislative process, which is kind of interesting. Which is something that most states will. That is the typical route for something like this in most states. But in Georgia, the governance of the securities laws inside of the state of Georgia is given to the Secretary of State. So the Secretary of State Kemp, was able to start equity crowdfunding in Georgia by rulemaking as opposed to going through the legislative process. So he did that in 2011, and then sort of clarified and did some things to help give the Invest Georgia exemption a boost in December of 2012. And the rule allows purely intrastate offerings, so that means has to be a Georgia issuer. They have to be headquartered here, registered to do business here, incorporated here, and raising money only from Georgia residents and only through a Georgia-based portal.
Okay.
So those are
So there is a portal requirement in the code.
Yeah, the requirement is that any party that does solicitation on behalf of the issuer needs to be Georgia-based. So that's in the rule as well. And companies can raise up to $1 million per year under the Invest Georgia exemption, and non-accredited investors can invest up to $10,000, and accredited investors can invest any amount there they want to.
That's a fantastic opportunity to experiment with crowdfunding. Now, so you are living the dream, you might say. You are out there, you are doing what the rest of us are only talking about, and we've been talking about it now for 18 months since the law passed, and many in the crowdfunding community have been talking about it a lot longer. So tell us, how is it working? What are you seeing? What are the lessons you're learning now?
Well, it's going great. There's a tremendous amount of enthusiasm. We have a huge pipeline of companies that are interested in raising money on Sterling Funder, and the CEOs are excited. They see it as an easier way to raise capital rather than the traditional sort of labor-intensive route. And then on the investor side is where we're putting a lot of resources into educating investors. Surely the angel community and the VC community in Georgia understands what this is and the kind of opportunities that Sterling Funder has. But the sort of recreational investors don't understand equity crowdfunding yet. So even in the state of Georgia, we're spending significant resources just educating the folks on the type of investment this is, what they need to look for, and we're really just kind of starting to what we call make the market. We're starting to bring these folks together, get them understanding what their respective roles are, and there's really a lot of momentum building. There's a lot of enthusiasm in the community, in the startup community here in Georgia.
Tell us a little bit about what the angel investor community was like in Georgia before the Georgia exemption was brought into law. Give us a little sense of history and context.
I mean, there was not there was a good number of angel investors here in Atlanta, here in really throughout the state. Some of the criticisms I had heard were that they weren't necessarily taking chances on new concepts, new technologies, that they were sort of already finding what types of companies were successful either in Georgia or outside of Georgia, and they do sort of have a pattern of investing in those types of companies. So that's a criticism that I hear frequently. In terms of Invest Georgia exemption, there really has not been a lot of um, activity among the angels with the Invest Georgia exemption. They are pretty much doing what they've been doing for the last 12 years.
So they're
They
not
are
engaging directly with you and trying to figure out how to partner with you to shepherd the deals along that they like, huh?
No, they're really not. I mean, my perspective is that they will get there. I mean, they'll basically get to the point when they start seeing more deals online, and they will sort of maybe reluctantly or maybe willingly, I don't know, but they'll start coming online at that point. But at
Yeah.
this point, I think that they're frankly happy to be getting um, the bulk of the deals first and looking at them, and I think over time that momentum will shift more towards online, and they'll participate online is my expectation.
Yeah. I had thought perhaps the angels would be a critical part of this community in making it work, and that they would embrace it from the standpoint that by allowing non-accredited investors to invest alongside them on the terms that they establish as angels, as lead investors in a deal, that they might get some leverage, right? They might actually be able to fund a deal with more money, that they as a group might put together $250,000, and then relying on friends and family, they might add another $100,000 to that mix and say, wow, now we've given the company that much more potential for success without tapping our network for all the money. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's logical. I think that would be the best route for everybody, and we're encouraging those kinds of deals. We're trying to, or we are building those relationships. And I don't think when I say I expect it to happen, I'm not saying I expect it to happen in a few years. I mean, I expect it to happen, start to happen this year, and certainly 2014. I think there'll be a larger coming together of the angel community and the equity crowdfunding community here in Georgia. But we're still no one. There's not a company that has been funded under the Invest Georgia exemption yet. So once that happens, again, that'll happen in 2013. And when that does happen, I think that will start sort of bringing the groups together. People will understand that the Invest Georgia exemption is a real good opportunity. And that'll sort of force parties to kind of work together a little tighter.
yeah. So, what other kinds of activities is Sterling Funder doing? I presume that you intend to operate under the Jobs Act. That you'll be doing some accredited only deals using the general solicitation rules, and that you'll operate under Title III ultimately when that is implemented. How are you working down those paths as well?
Well, it's been a challenge, but a fun challenge. Right now, we offer Invest Georgia exemption deals, and we offer Reg D deals. So we are already offering both types of deals, and then when the Jobs Act, Title III of the Jobs Act is implemented, we'll add that program to our site as well. So we'll have the full repertoire. We have some other things that we're not announcing yet, but there's something else in the works that's going to be really, really fun, and something else that none of the other portals are doing. So we're in this for the long haul. We are really excited about what's going on here in Georgia, and I think that's going to give us sort of a way to ramp up so that when Title III is implemented, we can do the best job of servicing our customers, getting our companies funded, and getting investors the best crowdfunded opportunities out there. So that's really, I mean, the Invest Georgia exemption is giving us that kind of on-ramp to start the business, which I think is great really for the industry, because that'll get us stronger, more equipped, better equipped, smarter
Yeah.
once Title III is implemented.
It gives provides an interesting competitive advantage. Are there other portals that you're competing with in Georgia, or are you the only one? You're the only one I know of, but that doesn't mean you're the only one.
Yeah, I mean, we're the only one that is active. There are some others that are um, have been talking about coming online soon, and I imagine that they will. But for the last, really for last, we came online about 8 months ago. Um, we're the only ones in Georgia, and I'll note that there's none in Kansas. Apparently, Kansas, as you probably know, is the only other state that allows equity crowdfunding, and Kansas doesn't have a portal, and we're the only portal in Georgia. So Sterling Funder
Yeah.
is really the only portal for non-accredited investors for crowdfunding in the country right
Yeah.
now.
Now, in Georgia, the rule itself doesn't literally require that there be a portal involved. Isn't that right? You could, in theory, under the rules, operate without a portal. Is that correct?
I haven't met. That's correct. I haven't met any CEO who's willing to do that, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of safety in having a portal. One of them, one of the challenges is making sure that the offer is viewed only by a genuine Georgia resident. So we'll be talking to a CEO, and he'll say, "I don't even want the task of making sure that they're a Georgia resident."
Right.
So there's a lot of other things that come along with it. There's definitely some expertise that we've built, a knowledge base that we've built that I think is the value add for these companies. But you're correct. The portal's not required. I just haven't met anyone who's really willing to
Yeah.
do it on their own.
Yeah. As I've contemplated what the rules ought to be, and I've contemplated that a little bit because I think the Jobs Act is a little strict. I live here in Utah, a million miles from Georgia, but we have a lot of the same issues. We're a smaller state than Georgia, but otherwise probably similarly positioned in a lot of ways. And I've been thinking it would be scary to actually see a deal done outside of a portal. And so it's interesting that the marketplace is coming to that conclusion without the regulation in place.
And yeah, and I mean, Devin, I would add that if a CEO could quickly or fairly easily raise capital without um, without the aid of a portal, then he or she would go do it. So, I mean, in other words, if they could do it on their own, they would do it. And I think that largely a lot of the CEOs are not doing it because they want help. They want help. They want it to be a quick and efficient process so they can focus on their business instead of focusing on raising capital. So it's just not. I think it's sort of a job that if they can help, they can get some delegation and get some assistance with doing it. It's one of the tasks that they want help with.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is an amazing new world we're seeing, and you're out there in Georgia on on what we can probably call the bleeding edge.
Yeah, it's painful at times. So that's
Yeah,
appropriate.
you're taking some of the early shots and learning some of the early lessons, and you're serving as kind of a guinea pig marketplace for the country, and a lot of attention ought well to be placed on what you're doing because you're experiencing what so many others will be experiencing in 9 to 12 months as the Jobs Act gets finally implemented. So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think what you're doing is great. You're spreading the word, and what we really want to do is not. I mean, I'm happy to get out and speak about what's going on in Georgia, what's going on at Sterling Funder. Not, I want to share. I want to help this community get better, get educated, do things more efficiently. So the lessons that we're learning are ones that I want to share with our colleagues across the country, and just really for the sake of getting the industry more efficient and more streamlined.
Yeah. So the next big equity crowdfunding conference will be in Las Vegas coming up in about 2 weeks. I understand you'll be there.
I'll be there and happy to meet all our friends, that folks like you, and other friends throughout the industry that are instrumental in getting it going. I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
being out there.
I think it's going to be a fun time, and of course, you're going to be the center of attention. I hope they've got you on the program for a good, solid block to give us more information about your experiences there, because I think we all want to learn from the guy who is actually doing it. So.
Happy to share. I've got a lot of stories. They're not all pretty, but it's going well, and I'm happy to share, and I'm excited for the conference and the industry. And again, I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing, just helping spread the word.
Well, thank you very much, David. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us this morning. Your insights are invaluable. Thank you.
All right, Devin. Thank you, my friend.
All righty, let's do some good.